Hey guys! I'm sure you can tell by the title of this video what this video is going to be. I've put off making this video for very obvious reasons. Like, I may get a little rambly because I just may. I never thought in a million years I would be talking about this on a public forum, but after making my body struggles video and my weight loss video, so many of you reached out to me and said how much those videos helped you guys who struggle with body dysmorphia and eating disorders as well. And my laxative video, I've people write to me from that laxative addiction video and say that they too have dealt with laxative addiction and how my video helped them so much that actually they've gotten off of the laxatives because of my video. And that's so touching and amazing, and it's the reason why I did those videos and why I put them out, because like I always said, if I could help one person, then it was all worth it. So that's why I'm making this video, because if it can help somebody, then like I said, I've never thought in a million years I'd be talking about this on a public forum. Not many people know this. There's a handful of people in my life who even know the details. I was in a abusive relationship, physically, mentally, emotionally abusive relationship for a very long time. If you don't like watching long videos, you may want to just click out of this and go watch something else. I don't know. Okay, gosh, I'm just gonna get right into the beginning, I guess. I met this guy, and we'll call him Dimitri. I was very young, and the night I met him through a friend. He was a friend of a friend. In the backyard at my mom and dad's house with my friends, and we were all supposed to be going out, and we were waiting for our guy friends to come over. We all ran to the front of the house, and there were like a caravan, like all these trucks. Our friends had trucks. They had like all their trucks out there. And in the middle of the trucks was this black BMW with like tinted out windows, and we're all like, who the heck is that? Like, never seen that car before. I remember him like getting out of his car. Oh, who's that? Because I thought he was really cute, and he looked very different than our friends. Like, all of our friends had a very similar style and way of dressing, and he was very different. Than he was tall, and for me, the only thing I'm ever about when it comes to looks per se is height. I always call it my 3H, my triple H. It's height, humor, and humble. Somebody who's tall, funny, and humble. Height is kind of a big thing for me, and he was 6'2". He's Romanian. He'd only been in Romania, in America for a couple years. He had a very broken accent. And I found that to be very charming and sexy, because I thought, oh, you know, Transylvania, Dracula. I thought it was charming and sexy, his accent. That night, for him, he says it was love at first sight. And so we started dating, and we were inseparable from that point on. We were always together, always with each other. He was older than me. My family loved him, and his family loved me. His little cousin was so in love with me. She was so adorable. You'll hear later in the story how that girl helped me in so many ways. But yeah, I got along really well with his family, and everybody loved me and my family as well with him, except for his grandmother. His grandmother hated my guts. This lady hated me. I'll get into it later in the story. Actually, I should just tell it now. I got a brand new car. You just got the windows tinted. Drove over to his family's. His grandma was out in the front yard and hosing, I guess, and just took the hose right to my car and doused my entire car with the hose. The whole entire car with the hose. And like I said, freshly tinted windows, just doused my entire car. Anytime I was around her, she mumbled under her breath, and I never knew what she was saying because I didn't know Romanian. I finally learned some of it, But I finally asked his little cousin, like, what does she say every time I'm around? And she basically was calling me an evil gypsy woman. I guess because I was Hungarian. She'd just walk around and call me an evil gypsy woman. Yes. She didn't like, I guess, Hungarians, and she knew that, like, I was part Hungarian, and she did not like that about me. And I remember one time I was heating up some hot cocoa in the microwave, and I went to shut the door. And you know in like horror movies how like you're in a bathroom and you like shut the medicine cabinet, you like smear off the mirror and there's someone behind you? Literally that happened at the microwave door. I shut it and like there was her reflection in the back, and I was so scared to death to like turn around, and I could just see her like sneering at like the back of my head. She was literally right on my back. And I just stayed there till like my hot cocoa was done. And then I just pulled it out and I slowly like crept around her like, don't touch her, don't touch her. She's gonna like shank you with a knife. Homegirl was crazy, dude. I don't know. I was always nice to her. I smiled at her. I'd like say hello. The woman hated. We dated and things were great. Whatever. And then I was in a really bad car accident. That's gonna come in a separate story because that needs a whole video in itself. But I was in a really, really bad car accident where I was very badly injured and in hospital for a while, had surgery, go through physical therapy to learn to use my body again. And after I got out of the hospital, I was basically bedridden at my parents' house. I was completely like immobile, bedridden, immobile, couldn't do anything. And during that time, he wasn't coming around as much. And I was like for us having been like inseparable, me having just experienced what I went through, like kind of like needing somebody, like needing that comfort, he wasn't there. And I was like, it made me feel very insecure because if you guys watch my body struggles video, I'll link it somewhere in here. I ended up putting on a lot of weight during that time because I was bedridden and whatever genetically works against me. I'm not one of those girls who can kind of like eat normally and just stay thin. I have obesity in my family. Anyhow, I gained weight. I was already a curvy, thicker girl when we started dating. But that's kind of something he was always attracted to. I even, like, in seeing his ex-girlfriends, they were always very curvy, thick girls. I had to, like, always remind myself, it's like, well, it's not the weight because he's always been into, like, thicker girls, and half of his ex-girlfriends were bigger than me. So I used to think, well, but still, I felt very insecure that I had gained this weight, and now I was, like, broken. I felt like, you know, here I am, I'm damaged goods is basically what I felt like. And that's why he just doesn't want to be around me. I later found out that he was involved in some very illegal activity. So every night when he would normally be with me and like visiting with me and spending time with me, he was out doing a lot of illegal things. And like I said, I later found this out. But I would question him like, well, where are you? What are you doing? And it was very defensive answers. It was, you know, well, why do you want to know? Why don't you trust me? And then he'd start a fight with me. And then he'd hang up on the phone with me and then he would talk to me. And here I was like bedridden and hurt and injured. And it's all I wanted was my boyfriend. And he just wasn't around and he was just not very sweet to me on the phone. He wasn't very nice. But then when he would come by and visit, it was like, oh, I was just all in love again. But I was very insecure and just, like I said, I felt like damaged goods. I almost never felt the same in life after my car accident because it kind of permanently damaged me. Once I finally was able to get up on my feet again and learn how to live life, I was able to kind of like resume social things and go out with friends and have a life again. And he did not like that. I think he got very used to me being bedridden. He got used to me being at home. He got used to knowing where I was at all times. And the fact that I was now going out again with my friends and hanging out and having fun. And he was obviously out at nights doing this illegal whatever he was doing. So where are you? Who are you with? And I would tell him. I'd be like, you can come by, like I'm here. And he didn't believe me. It was like, no, you're a slut, you're a whore, you're cheating on me. I can't even repeat the names that he would call me, but he called me some pretty awful things and would just start to fight with me. Like, that's it. Like, he threatened to break up with me all the time, which in turn I would just bawl my eyes out and cry and just beg him, please, no, oh my God, I love you so much. Please don't break up with me. A lot of the reason why, you know, you don't, I think, speaking for myself, having been in an emotionally, physically, mentally abusive relationship, a lot of shame comes with it because you stayed with this person even though they hurt you or they called you names or they hit you, and you still stayed with them though, and you loved them. And there's some shame that comes with that. And then there's the whole, I don't want to tell my family because I don't want them to dislike him. Like, obviously looking back on that now, I think, oh my God, were you insane? But you're so kind of manipulated and like controlled. Anyhow. So he would always manipulate the conversation and call me names and basically tell me he didn't want me hanging out with my friends anymore. And he always wanted me with him. So I was with him constantly. That's how it had to be. I always had to be with him. And we were fighting. And about the same situation. And out of nowhere, he hit me in the head and face. I was driving, he was in the passenger, and he just, right in the head and face, punched me. It's so weird to talk about. I don't relive these moments, guys. I started to cry, and he started to yell at me. That happened actually quite a few times. Anytime I cried, it would anger him. Like, you'd normally think if somebody cried, it would bring them down and make them feel sympathy or like, oh no, I've done something wrong. No, it was almost like fuel to the fire for him. If I cried, it's like it's made it worse. And so he did that a couple times. We had been in fights in the car. He'd hit me while I was driving. But then, I'm sorry, apologize. Oh, you just made me angry. You just upset me. And then he would cry. So manipulative. Say how sorry he was and how much he loved me. And he just didn't mean to do that. So of course, I would just feel sorry for him. And oh, I love you. So that's how things went on for a while. But when we had good times, that made everything great and wonderful. And he's being so nice to me, you know, and it just sucks you right back in. Just speed this along, because if I went through every single incident of what happened, this would be a 2-hour-long video. A family friend of his passed away, and we went to their funeral. Sitting in the parking lot, because we were early, and we were waiting to go in, and we were on our phone, and I was on mine, and he asked me who I was talking to. I said, my sister, and he was like, well, let me see. I said, well, let me finish. And he grabbed my phone and got out of the car. I got out of the car, and I started following him. I was like, can I please have my phone? Please, can I have my phone? And he wouldn't give it back. And I took my hand, let's say this is the back of his arm, and I touched it like this. I said, can I please, like the back of his arm and back, can I please have my phone? He whipped around, and I saw the face of the devil staring back at me. It's like something snapped in his brain. And he turned around and he grabbed a hold of my neck and started squeezing. And mind you, where we're parked, we're kind of like on the side of the building. So it's kind of like where the side building is, and then there's kind of like an alleyway. Grabbed me by my neck, started squeezing, and as he's squeezing, he's backing me up into the side of the building, me thrown up against the wall, and he's choking me, to death. And I can't breathe, and I'm trying to flail my arms and fight him off. He just kept saying to me, don't you ever put your hands on me again. Don't you ever touch me like that again. And I just remember trying to breathe, and I couldn't breathe, and I started to see stars. And I peed my pants. Thank God I was wearing all black and I had a jacket on, but I peed my pants, and I was trying so hard to breathe, and I just remember starting to pray. And just praying, asking God, please help me. And I just remember hearing a voice and calling his name. And it was his little cousin. And thank God she showed up, because he let go. And I just fell to the floor, and he just kind of like kicked dirt at me and said, clean yourself up in the bathroom. I don't want anybody seeing you like this. And I just was laying there gasping for air, holding my throat. I was soaked in urine and just could not believe that this had just happened to me, that I almost just died. And thank God his cousin just showed up, and she came running over to me. Like, she was such a sweetheart. She was like, why are you with him? You need to leave him. He's not a good person. And here, this is his blood relative, and she's saying this to me. I should have listened to her. And so she helped me get up, and I had my head down. As I was walking, I was shaken and I was crying. And as I lifted my head, there was his mother standing right there. And I thought, had you been watching this the entire time? Were you watching this? Did you watch him do this to me? Because what she then said next was, you really shouldn't anger him like that. Excuse me? Excuse me? Yeah, you really shouldn't anger him like that. That says to me, you saw it happen. You watched it happen, and you saw what he did to me, and you did nothing. I went into the bathroom and cleaned myself up. I cried so hard and went into the funeral home. I mean, I know. Normally, I think back to myself like, girl, you should have called the police. You should have called your sister. You should have gotten the heck out of there. I mean, done something. But of course, thinking back to, I call her because that was me then, was very being controlled. I was very insecure. I felt horrible about myself, and I loved him. Sadly, I loved him. And I went to the funeral, and I sat in the back row, and he summonsed me over to sit next to him, and I did, and he placed his hand on my leg, and as if nothing ever happened, and went on like nothing happened. Time went on, and things, when they were good, they were good. How sick does that sound? But it's true. But then when we fought, it was terrible. There were a couple instances at restaurants, and he chose to do, like, he had no shame. He would do this in public. And I remember we were at Red Robin picking a fight with me, and he just was saying awful things to me, and I started to, tears were welting up in my eyes. And he just looked across the table at me, and he said, I swear to God, if those tears hit your cheek, I will smack them right off your face. And I immediately tried to like suck them back as well as I could. I grabbed my sunglasses and I put them on. Thank God it was in the day, and we were like sitting by a window, so it didn't look that obvious. And he got up and he went to the bathroom. And I remember there was a woman across the way from me, and she looked over at me like to get my attention. And she looked at me, she goes, are you okay? Like, she mouthed it. Like, are you okay? And I was like, oh, like, yeah, no, I'm fine. Like, no, I'm good. Bless her heart. I'm sure she saw the whole thing. She probably even heard what he said. He came back from the bathroom and acted like everything, like nothing happened. Everything was perfectly fine. And he did that a couple times in restaurants. Like, like the balls to do things in public. But that's where, like I said, crying for him was like fuel to his fire. That's where I learned to bury things. I learned to, it's not good to show your emotions. It's not good to cry. Crying is a weakness. I hated crying because of that in particular. Crying was weak. Crying meant you're weak, and crying meant you were going to get hurt. So I knew better than to cry. You don't cry. And that started this years of me just not crying and finding crying to be something that you just don't do, and hating to cry. And it all stemmed from that. Thankfully, he got a job that sent him away. And then weekends he would either come down and visit, or I would go and visit him where he was at. I'm sorry if you guys can hear any kind of construction or banging. They're working on the house across the way, and I have to have the door open for light, so I apologize. Hurry this up. So, breathe, girl, breathe. So he was away for a while, which actually helped our relationship because he wasn't around as often, and he wasn't able to be mean to me and abusive, and we'd still talk on the phones. On the weekends would sometimes be really great. And then sometimes it would be, well, where were you all week? Who were you with? You slut, you whore. Thing was, if you ever leave me, and you leave me and I catch you with a guy, I will kill you and him. He said those words to me. I will kill you and the guy. One weekend he was down and I went to his family's house and he was there visiting his family. On this day, it was actually just his grandma and his little cousin cleaning out my wallet, sitting on a couch. And I come across like a baby picture of myself in my wallet. He wanted to see it. And I was like, no, oh my gosh, I look so ugly. And he was like, come on, let me see it. So he grabbed it out of my hands and he took off running. And I was like, give it to me. And we like playing chase back and forth. And I grabbed his arm. And I was like, can I have my picture, please? And it happened again. He snapped. And he turned around. And again, I just saw the face of a demon. And he grabbed a hold of my neck and started squeezing again and started choking me. And at this time, I was like, I am fighting. And I started to punch and like try to kick with my legs. And he just had his other arm holding my arms and his hand at my neck and squeezing it so tight. And the more I would fight against him, the harder he would squeeze. And so I just was kind of like trying to just gasp for air. And I was praying in my head and trying to plead, but nothing was coming out. I again started to just kind of get really dizzy and very lightheaded. And I was noticing it would all seem to happen in slow motion. But I was noticing as he was doing this, he was pushing me backwards. And as it's like he had Superman force, he literally took me by the neck as he was squeezing me. And he took me and he threw me. And threw me through the sliding glass screen door, right through it. And I landed on my back. Wind knocked out of me. I don't know if I blacked out because I don't remember the fall. I just know I went through the door. And I remember coming to on the floor, just feeling pain. But I'm alive is what I thought to myself. And laying there, just like, did this happen? I'm alive, kind of feeling my body, like wiggling my toes. Am I okay? I know I'm good. My head hurt. Couldn't quite comprehend. And then I remember hearing his truck start and screech away. And he left. Left me laying there on the cement, laying there on my back. And his cousin came running. She started bawling her eyes out because she saw me laying there in the condition I was. And she was trying to help me up, and she just looked at me and she goes, you need to leave him. Why are you with him? She was so angry, but you could almost tell scared too. And as she was trying to help me up, I look through the now empty doorway, and I see his grandmother standing right there with her hands behind her back, just going with a smirk, a smiling smirk on her face. And then she turns and walks away. So his cousin helped me get up, and I went to the bathroom. She got me bandages and peroxide, and I cleaned myself up. I had blood on me, so she gave me one of his shirts to put on. Cleaned myself up. I was supposed to be with him all day this day because I was supposed to be visiting him. And my family knew that, so I knew that if I went home early, one, they'd see the condition that I was in. And two, I didn't want questions being asked. So I literally drove back, but I didn't go home. I literally went and sat at a park. I sat at a park until very late at night to where I knew that my family was sleeping so I could sneak inside the house and nobody would see me and they wouldn't see the condition that I was in. And I literally spent that entire weekend in bed just saying I had a headache and that I was sick. So people would just leave me alone and nobody would ask questions. But that night, when I got home and I went upstairs in my room, I literally fell to the floor. I believe in God and I pray, and that's where my beliefs are. That night, I got down on my knees and I cried so hard. I think I cried harder than I've ever cried in my life at that point. I cried so hard. And so hard that I felt like I was actually going to fall through the floor. I cried so hard. And I just remember praying and calling out and asking God for help because I didn't know how I was going to do this anymore. Because I've now two situations where he almost killed me. And he's already said that he would if I leave him. And I just prayed and I asked God, I said, please help me because I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I can't be with this person. He's hurting me, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid to do this. I'm afraid to leave him. I can't, you have to do this for me. I can't do this on my own. And that weekend, I never saw him. He just kind of disappeared. And I think it was that next week, he apologized this time and said that he was sorry and that he loved me and he cried and that whole crap. We were at the mall, my mom and I'll never forget, we're the second story part of the mall sitting on a bench. And it was Friday night, he was coming down, I was supposed to go see him and I wasn't there right when I was supposed to be. So he called me and he started going off on me. Where are you? Who are you with? You're cheating on me, you slut, you whore. Like, no, I'm with my mom at the mall. And he was like, no, I don't believe you. Yelling at me and going off on me on the phone. And he basically said, that's it. I'm, again, threatening to break up with me. That's it. I'm done with you. I don't want to be with you anymore. You whore, you this, you that. We're done. We're over. Hung up on me. And I just kind of clicked the phone down. The phone rang. Hello? Why didn't you call me back? I always, the moment that phone, he hung up on me, which was all the time, I would immediately get on that phone and call him back. Immediately. And beg and plead. Just worship the ground. Please, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't break up with me. I love you so much. Please. I didn't call him back. And he was just like, why didn't you call me back? I'm like, well, you said we were over and that you were breaking up with me or that you broke up with me. Well, I was just mad. I was just mad and angry. So when are you coming over? I said, well, no, you broke up with me. You said we were done. So we're done. And I hung up the phone and I laid it down in my lap. And my mom looked at me and she goes, are you okay? And I said, I'm fine. She goes, are you sure? I'm like, I'm fine. What happened? He just broke up with me. Are you okay? Yeah. Thinking back on it now, I had such strength. And so much peace. It's what they say, it's the peace that passes all understanding is what I felt in that moment. I felt nothing but peace. I can't believe I'm crying. I have not cried about this situation or this relationship in centuries. Like, not since before we broke up was the last time I shed a tear over this. This is like therapy or something, my goodness. I guess thinking back to almost like to me what a miracle it was of how I was able to do that. And it was, I felt nothing but peace, complete and utter peace and strength. And I never once shed a tear or mourned that relationship. After that, I forgave him. I was perfectly fine. I never once felt regret. I felt so like a brand new person from that point. He continued, the story goes on. He continued to blow up my phone for the rest of the night. I just turned my phone off. The next day, he showed up at my parents' house, sat out front of their house, bawling his eyes out and crying. Oh, please let me see her. He was blowing up their phone. They had to take their phone off the hook, crying outside, making a scene in the neighborhood. My aunt and uncle lived across the street at the time. He went down to their house. Mind you, my family liked him. And so they thought it was a sad situation and they felt bad for him. Next thing I know, my uncle's calling, I think, my mom's phone and is like, so-and-so's Dimitri's down here and he's crying and he's on the phone. He's like, you know, just talk to the guy. He's just heartbroken. He said, you broke up with him. I'm all, first of all, he broke up with me. And he said, but you know, just give the guy a chance. He loves you so much. And I'm just thinking, you have no idea. And I said to my uncle at the time, you know, you really don't know what our relationship was about. This is a really good thing we're not together anymore. You just need to wish him well and send him on his way. And basically he sat out in front of my parents' house for I don't even know how long. He had to end up going back to where he was working. His mom would call me, and she would basically say that, you know, he's threatening to commit suicide, he's having a nervous breakdown, he's depressed, he won't eat, and that all of this is my fault. I've broken his heart, I've ruined his life. And I remember at one point, I guess he wrote a suicide letter and said that he was going to like the top of Big Bear mountains in our area in California. That he was going to go to the top of the mountain and jump and kill himself. And it was all because of me. Mom was like, you know, if he kills himself, his blood is on your hands. You murdered my son. Then I later found out, because he disappeared for a while, I found out he went to jail. And he was arrested for this illegal activity that he had been involved in. I started getting my life together, and if you guys watch my body struggles video, you know after we broke up, I started losing weight and working on myself. It was like a new lease on life. I was so happy to just be alive, and I just wanted to be healthy and just lose the weight and lose, like, I always felt the weight that I lost was like literally him. I ended up seeing some people, and I went on a date one night, and as I was driving home from the date, I noticed on the freeway, and for quite some time, a car had been following me, and I wasn't sure. I mean, I didn't know who it was. I didn't recognize the car. It was a white minivan, no license plates, and blacked out windows. And I just thought, well, this is weird. I'm thinking, no, is it him? No, he's in jail, and just very freaked out. And I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, there's this car, this van that's been following me for a while, and I don't know who it is. She's like, well, do they have to take down their license number? I said, there is none. And she was like, I said, they're kind of driving erratically, like trying to get closer to me. And she was like, well, you need to drive to the police station. It wouldn't be Dimitri. And I said, no, he's in jail. So as I'm driving, this car is driving more and more erratically to try and get next to me. And they kind of pull along the side on the other side of another car, and the window rolls down. The passenger side window rolls down. Yes, there's a passenger. And inside the car driving is my ex-boyfriend, Dimitri, and then the passenger seat is his mother. His mother is in the passenger seat of the car. His mom, in a white, unmarked van with tinted, blacked out windows. This was like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. It's chasing me down the freeway. His mother's in the car with him, and he's driving. I wonder what in the world they were trying to do, or what they were going to attempt to do to me. So I called my mom, and I said, Mom, it's Dimitri, and his mom is in the car with him. And she was like, oh my God, you need to drive to a police station. I said, I'm almost home. It would take me much longer to get to the police station than to just get home. And she was like, well, I can't open the garage door because that'll take too long to get you inside and then to shut the door. She said, well, you just need to get to the house, and I'm standing at the front door, and I think my dad was there too. I'm pretty sure. She says, you just need to get to the front door. I'm standing here with the front door open, and you just need to run as fast as you can. Like I said, I think my dad was there with his gun. I'm pretty sure. I want to say he was. And I started cutting in and out of the neighborhood because I knew side streets where I could lose him, and I was in kind of like a little sporty car compared to his minivan. And I was able to pull up in the driveway as fast as I could and jump out of my car. And how my parents' house goes, you have to like go up kind of like a curvy walkway, and there's like these bushes, hedges. I literally was running so fast, I jumped the hedges. I jumped the bushes. And I remember seeing my mom standing in the doorway, and my mom just literally looked at me and said, run, he's right behind you. And I just remember running as fast as I could, getting in that door, and my mom slamming it shut before he could get to me. I just knew that if he got me, that was it. If he and his mom got a hold of me out on that road, they probably were going to kill me. Because like I said, I later found out some gnarly things about what he and his family were involved in. I think he ended up going right back into jail. I got an email months later from him saying to me that he had changed his life around, and that he was this new person, that he had found God, and that he was a new man, and that he was so sorry for everything he did to me, and that he loved me, and he would love to just try again. And I said to him in the email, I responded, you know, I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful that you've changed your life around. I'm so glad to hear that. Like, what an amazing story. Good for you. I wish you well. Thank you for the apology. I forgave you a very long time ago. I had to for my own good. But goodbye. And from that point, of course, the response email was anger and hate. And I'm thinking, wow, you've really changed, haven't you? From that point on, I would get phone calls. I got 3 phone calls from 3 different girls, all who had dated him at the certain time. Are you Dimitri's ex-girlfriend? Yes. Are you guys still dating or something? No. Why? Well, because for some reason, he just has all of your pictures all over his place. Like, literally, there's like a shrine to you in his bedroom. Like, inside his bedroom are all of your pictures up all over the place. All the, like, little stuffed animals you got him and everything. There's literally like a shrine to you in his bedroom. And I literally kind of froze in fear, like, okay, that's creepy. And I just told her, first and foremost, you probably shouldn't be with a guy who has a shrine to his ex-girlfriend in his bedroom. And she says, it's all he does is talk about you and talk about how you hurt him and you broke his heart, but how you're like his one true love. And I'm like, honey, let me just give you an awesome word of advice. Run. And again, this wasn't just one girl. It happened 2 other times. 2 girls called me. They must have gotten my number somewhere in his room or in his phone or wallet or something. And they were like, you know, blah, 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 you're his ex-girlfriend. I'm still with him. Do you guys still talk? I'm like, no. Same conversation. And I just warned them, you're better to just leave. Emailed me again. He got some chick pregnant. And they had a kid, and he had a son, and again, he had changed his life around, and he was this new man, and he was so different, and, you know, he was this father, or he wasn't with his baby mama anymore, though, and, you know, just that he's always loved me, and it's like, I wish you well, God bless you and your son, but deuces. And I then later, a little after that, found out again, he went back to jail. And he was in the big house this time. Like, the feds busted the big thing he was involved in. I think he's still in. I hope and pray he is. I should not be alive. There's so many times where he could have killed me. I know that that night, him running me down in his car with his mom. There's so much more to the story. Some other little details, but just too much to go on about. People who I've shared the story with, you know, had said, you know, why would you stay with somebody like that? And sadly, I loved him, and I was just manipulated and controlled by him, and I, again, was just very insecure and just didn't feel good about myself and thought I deserved no better. I thought, you know, who's gonna want me? That's why I always say I don't like that girl. Don't like that girl. I don't like her. I refer to her as such a completely separate person because when we broke up and I just became this new human being, it was like I just looked back. I feel bad for her. I feel really bad for her. Anyhow, okay. I need to go, like, watch a funny movie or go do something to, like, lighten my spirits here. But in all honesty, I forgave him. And I, you know, other than talking to this, like this with you guys or mentioning it, I don't spend time on it. I don't waste time thinking about it. I forgave him, and I have no ill will towards him. I don't hate him. I hope he got help, and it feels so good to be free of that and to not harbor and feel hate. That's it. This video has been way too long. I'm going to try and edit it the best I can. But, yeah, I have some other stories to share. A car accident story, and I think it was my bullying story, and the time my mom and I got robbed and mugged. Either give this video a thumbs up or leave it in the comments down below and let me know what if you guys still want to see story time. I love you guys, and thank you for loving me and supporting me, and that's it. I hope you guys are having a great day. Please be kind to each other always, and I will see you in another video soon.